Good morning, Aurelie.
Well,
Welcome
hello,
every
Linda.
Good morning. Welcome everybody to the Connection Show. This is the show where we inspire actions. And I invite all my guests, my readers to come back to share what they're up to and what's happening in the world and share their insights of the book.
What's really exciting is I've been a nurse or a clinical specialist for women's health or an oncology nurse practitioner for the last 42 years. And in September, I decided that after taking courses over the last couple of years, I was going to put the parachute on, take a deep breath, and jump and go full time with my passion in my life, because I've always had a passion for prevention. And I also have another passion for survivorship, but I love keeping people healthy because I've seen the other side for so long with people who are very sick, very medically complicated, especially with cancer. So I started my business and I just finished my second 6-week workshop. What I do is back in the 1990s, I had worked at a hospital in Connecticut called Stanford Hospital, and was one of my many roles, I was working with women with breast cancer. And we met as a group twice a month, and it was a support group for the women who had breast cancer. And so we would just open it up and people could share whatever was on their mind. And one evening, as we were sitting around in a circle, this young woman looked around the room and she said, "Look at all the young faces in this room. There's got to be something in the environment." And at that time, we didn't talk about the environment. We talked about how, women either got their periods early or they went through menopause late or they delayed childbearing, and that as much as we didn't really understand what caused breast cancer, that was what we did know. And I thought to myself, I really didn't know what to say at the time. I just reflected back. Yes, there does, that's a good thought. But I went home that night and I thought a lot more about what she said, and it put me on a quest to find the answers. And I went back to graduate school, got my nurse practitioner, decided to write a paper, just got it published in December, which I'm so excited about. But really, I am so grateful to that particular woman, but for many of my patients over the years who have really shared their experiences with me, that there does seem to be something in the environment.
Wow,
And
congratulations. That's such a big news that your paper is finally published, and I must say to congratulate you too on listening, because there could be many messages around. People could be talking all the time, but if we don't listen, we don't really get it, do we? Right.
No.
So yeah, kudos to you for listening, and it sounds like you listen to your patients so well.
Going to prevent cancer, we need to do it when women are pregnant, and look at what the environment of women are. What are they eating? What exercise are they getting? What are they doing to manage stress? Are they getting enough sleep?
Absolutely. It has to be right from the beginning, isn't it? I'm so on board with you that
Yes.
everything's from the womb before the baby even comes out. That's incredible.
And also looking at, what's the environment of the husband or their partner. What are they exposed to at work? What are they exposed to on the lawn? What are they exposed to, in their play environment? Maybe when they're out playing baseball or football or whatever, on the, the grass. And then what are young children exposed to? Because it turns out it's those early years and also in the teenage years when the body's growing and changing quickly, the cells are dividing rapidly, when we're building that template for health or illness throughout our life. So that's what I get to bring to parents now, is I help bring awareness of what they can do to keep their kids healthy for the long term. And so I get to wake up every day and do what I love.
Amazing. Keeping the connection between the generations.
That's right.
And talking about connections, what inspired you to read the book?
Well, many things, but one of my dearest friends is from Vietnam. She grew up in Hue, And she immigrated to the United States in '75 after Saigon fell. And then we had gone to a conference together, Linda, in San Diego, where there were people from all over the world. And I'm like, oh, Linda, you know, and you told me that you had written a book, and I was just so admiring of the fact that you were an author. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she wrote a book. And here it is, right here.
I had this speaker's screen with my eyes shut almost, because the memory comes back that when we were in San Diego with a huge conference with people from 32 countries around the world. That is just such a good memory.
And so we just had a wonderful connection during that time. We've kept in touch, you know, over the years, and I had a chance to read your book and really think that it has a very powerful message to share.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, I really appreciate when everyone picks up the book and reads, because, you know, we all do, right? We might get a book and then it might sit on the shelf and then never gets touched. So thank you so much for taking time to read it and all. And I'm just curious, was there a favorite chapter or story that resonated with you most?
That's a really good question. I think of all the chapters, the one that I really appreciated the most was the one about connecting with self and loving self, because especially in my work as a nurse, you know, oftentimes we think of self-love as a given in life, but I can tell you from working with a lot of people who are very, very ill, is that some of it relates to how we think about ourselves and how we love ourselves, or maybe we're not loving ourselves and we're doing things which can be harmful to ourselves. And I think as women, oftentimes it's just in our nature to want to take care of others. And sometimes to the point where we almost forget to take care of ourselves. And it's so important that we take care of ourselves. And I think the first time it really, like that thought really came to me was, you know, the first time I flew on a plane. And of course they start out by saying, oh, if you lose cabin pressure, the oxygen mask comes down. You know, if you are, you know, like a mother or a parent, put the oxygen mask on yourself first. And I thought, aren't we supposed to put it on our kids first? Because as a mother, we're always thinking about our kids, right? Or as a nurse, I'm always thinking about my patients and what I can do for them. But that really struck me, because I thought to myself, if we don't put the oxygen on ourselves, we're not going to be any good to our children. If we're not doing the things that help ourselves to be healthy, then we can't offer that to our kids. So I realized, yes, it is very important to love ourselves, take really good care of ourselves, because then we come from a full well and we're able to love our children and care for our children better.
Yeah, I absolutely agree on that one. When I first had my baby, when the nurse say, look after yourself first, and at the hospital, you know how it's like when you have your first child, the bundle of joy is just so tiny. And he was premature as well. He was like 4 weeks premature. And in my head, I was like, there's no way I'm going to look after myself first. Of course, baby comes first. But months after I go home, because I had no one to help me, I was all alone. Then slowly I realized what it meant. Because, you know, if I collapse, if I don't look after myself, and if I collapse, then no one else is going to be looking after the baby. And so, yeah, that is exactly what the message of the book is. The underlining message of the book is 3 hearts. Heart number 1 is love and connection for ourselves. Heart number 2 is love and connection for each other, with each other. And heart number 3 is love and connection with the universe. So yes, the heart number 1, it's so important that it has to come first. But unfortunately, sometimes for some people, that's kind of like been lost. But from connecting with each other, with other people, can actually help them, lead them back to connect with themselves and rebuild a self-love. So I'm so glad that that resonates with you. And so then I'm curious, so after you read the book, did it lead to any actions?
Yeah, so one of the things that, you know, having a very stressful job is I realized that I was feeling really stressed myself, and I would come home and I would think about my patients, and I was like, oh, you know, and I realized if I'm going to be able to take care of my patients, I have to be grounded in myself, and I have to be at peace with myself, and I have to be, you know, have this feeling of, um, well, not having the anxiety or the feeling of stress so much. So I think when we are, well, the method that I learned initially to do meditation, because I've actually been doing meditation for 30 years, was one called Mindfulness Meditation. But I was always operating from the neck up. And so my friend who knew another type of meditation called Self-Attunement Meditation, it was basically taking the universal energy and bringing it in through the heart, and then letting that energy come up through the rest of the body, and really looking at what the feelings were inside. And that was so helpful to me and helped me to connect to myself better. And what I found is by doing the self-attunement meditation, I am able to listen to that still small voice within that you talk about in the book. I'm finding I'm much more intuitive than I used to be, and that has been so helpful to me.
That's
and the
wonderful.
other thing,
yeah.
the other action I took, obviously, because you're an excellent author, is you inspired me to publish my article. So I sat down, I got my, it was a lot of work. I couldn't believe, like when I know how much a 5-page article was. I mean, it started out as like a 20-page article, and then they said, oh no, you got to cut it down to 5 pages. And I'm like, my baby? I've got to cut my baby down to 5 pages? But knowing how much work that was, I can't imagine how much a whole book is. But so it helped to inspire me to sit down, write my article, get that published. I still have the goal that I want to write my own book. That will probably start within the next year. Right now, I have a lot of other things I have to do. And then
congratulations.
Yeah, and the other thing is I went back and I reread, some parts of the book, before our interview now. And what the other thing that it inspired me to do is, within the last couple of days, Melinda Gates came out with an article in Foreign Affairs magazine, and it was called "The Toll of the Pandemic on Women." And I was like, okay, let's respond to that. Let's sit down with our pen and paper or our computer, and we're going to write a response. So I wrote a very quick 3-minute read article, and it's called Building Opportunities for Women During the Pandemic, because I think what I realized is just what you were talking about. As women, we are very experienced in families, right? And we are also, there's a lot of wisdom that gets passed down from generation to generation. I know that you have a very special bond with your mummy. And we all, I think, as women have special bonds with our moms and our grandmothers. And there's so much wisdom that gets passed down. But sometimes we, in society, we are not seen as equal, or we are discredited, or we have a hard time using our voice. And so I think this is a really wonderful time that as women, we can come together and have a table, and we take our seat at the table, and we use our voice to build a better world. Because I think that's part of the message that's coming with this pandemic, is what we've been doing to the earth, what we've been doing, the injustices, and whether they're racial injustices or economic injustices, or, many, or what we've been doing to the climate and the animals, that it's very important it's a very important message we're getting from this pandemic. So it turns out in 1945 in the United States, there was a economic Bill of Rights that was proposed by the President Harry Truman at that time. It was right after World War II. And what he was trying to do is he was trying to create better health for all Americans in the United States. The bill was not passed. It was shot down because people were so afraid of socialism that they just killed the bill. But it is more relevant today than ever. And I think this is a wonderful time for women to come together and really help to build those systems so that we can have a wellness-oriented society rather than an illness-driven society. And I think women will be the one to bring that message to the world.
I so thank you. You share that great insight. Yeah, so everything you talk about is so aligned with the book. So the last part is when we connect with the universe, you know, that includes a whole lot of things, isn't it? Nature, environment, our heart, our energy. Like, you know, when you meditate, you receive the universal energy, all of that. And in the book, I also share a very, very simple way of meditate as well, to take the 3 conscious breath. You know how you said when you did it, it's just up here. So in the book, I share how you can get it all the way down to your whole system. So thank you so much. It's so wonderful to catch up. Like you said, you know, we met and you inspired to pick up the book, and you are inspired to publish your article. I know how important that article is to you. When people say article, it could be any kind of article, but your one is the medical one. And so it does take a lot of research. So I want to say congratulations once again. And thank you so much for coming on the show to share all your love. We'll catch up again soon.
Thank you. And when I sit down to write my book, I'm going to be calling you for advice on.
Sure, I've been helping a lot of writers.
Keep the inspiration going, because you know better than anyone how much work it is to get a book published. You know, so
yeah. So a lot of writers have published their book after reading the book. So I want to say congratulations in advance for taking action too. Right now you're taking action, so congratulations. Thank you everybody for tuning in and watching the show and listening. We'll catch you again next time.
Okay, blessings. Bye. Linda.
Bye. Bye.